Hello again everybody and welcome to a DCS World Su-25 mission called Tskhinvali Interdiction. This is flown from beginning to end in virtual reality using the Oculus Rift headset, and since there are some pretty severe limitations at this point on the quality of footage that can be recorded from the cockpit view, it really just is not representative of the experience at all. I'm going to augment this wherever I can with internal and external views recorded after the fact, and also footage from a flight evaluation software package called TACVIEW, and you can see details in the video description that will tell you all about that. Let's go ahead and get into the mission. So it's a single mission, and it's this one right here. It's Su-25 Tskhinvali Interdiction, and let's get into the briefing. So this is a 1000 late morning mission. I'm going to be on the red Russian side in this case, taking off from Mozdok and then flying south into the target area. I'm going to be a flight of 2 Su-25s with a loadout of 2 wing tanks, 2 R-60M IR guided missiles for air-to-air if that comes up, 2 RBK-500 cluster bombs, and then 4 KH-25 guided missiles. So it's a good general purpose loadout. I'm going to fly with the default loadout here. It's a good one for vehicles of any type and armor. So the situation is that on the 8th of August 2008, an attack that we have been fearing has come. So late last night, Tbilisi, or the Georgian forces down south, launched a sudden offensive to take all of South Ossetia, and we have sent forces south across the Caucasus Mountains into the area to try to stop them at the town of Tskhinvali, and that's going to be our objective location. So I'm the lead of 231 flight, a flight of 2 Su-25s on an interdiction mission against Georgian forces around Tskhinvali. So I'm to interdict forces to the south of the town and any that I can find massing on the outskirts. In particular, I'm to relieve pressure from the Peacekeepers compound on the southwest side of Tskhinvali itself. And if we come to the next briefing slide, and in this case, north is up. So here's the town of Tskhinvali right here, friendly forces massing, trying to retake it. Peacekeepers compound will be on the south and slightly west outskirts of the urban area of Tskhinvali itself. Okay, gotcha. And last we heard, the Peacekeepers had taken cover in the basement of their barracks, but Georgian shelling had managed to set buildings on fire and their current situation is unknown. So we have friendly forces coming in from the north, and we have a note here: do not engage targets north of Tskhinvali under any circumstances whatsoever. So I'm going to have to visually find these places, and this is the Su-25A, not the T model, so I'm going to be using my eyes and looking outside the cockpit to determine where the friendly forces and the enemy forces are. So this is going to be very important that I A, identify Tskhinvali, and then B, identify which group of targets are friendly and which group of targets are enemy. So that's going to be the main challenge here when it comes to executing the mission. Now, Georgian forces have been active earlier in the morning. Those are the enemy forces to the south. But we do have a flight of Su-27s providing combat air patrol overhead, call sign 201. And they are expected RTB at around 10:45. That's if the mission starts at 10. Okay, 45 minutes after the mission starts is when I need to start to think about getting out of there. So I think I'll probably have about 20 minutes or so if I had to guess in the target area just based on the timing. It's not that far of a flight across the Caucasus to that area. And then it notes that we have 141 flight, a flight of 2 Su-24Ms that arrive in the target area before us at around 10:10, and they may still be in the area when we arrive, so I'll be on the lookout for them, and they're going to be tasked against Georgian forces moving north on the roads out of Gori, and that's going to be, Gori I believe is maybe this little town right here on the map, but yeah, they're going to be to the south of our target area. So execution: take off immediately and proceed to waypoint 1, fence in, and then descend to attack altitude. Waypoint 2 is Tskhinvali itself, so that's an easy reference, and that will be a big help when it comes to identifying the town. Engage targets to the south and then around the outskirts of the town, and do not damage our friendly forces. RTB at 10:45 if I have not already done so. Okay, that's good enough. We have a comms plan right here, but in the Flaming Cliffs 3 Su-25, or any of the Su-25s that are available in DCS World, all the radio frequencies are taken care of, but I do have that noted right here: compositions and call signs. And then weather: partly cloudy, and then winds from the west at 4 meters per second, light winds. Possible threats: this is kind of important: SA-3, SA-8, SA-9, SA-11, and SA-13. I guess the primary threat that sticks out to me right there are the SA-11s and the SA-13s. Those are very, very good systems. I mean, they're all very, very good systems, but my experience in DCS World is that the last two right there are the ones that I really need to worry about. The SA-11 being like a, I guess comparatively nowadays, sort of a medium range surface-to-air missile, radar guided, and then SA-13s are very, very effective short-range IR-guided missiles. Same with the SA-9, IR-guided threat, SA-8, radar-guided short-range threat, and then SA-3, older, not as big a threat, medium to longer range missiles. So I'm going to be ready for absolutely anything that comes up here. Now I'll have this as a reference as we get into the cockpit. And yeah, I believe this is all that I'm going to really get from the information that's presented right there. Let me duck into the mission planner briefly and see what this has for us. So we take off from Mozdok. I'm going to have, let me see, I have an AWACS aircraft up, giving me a heads up if any enemy aircraft come into the area. So it's going to be takeoff, fly to the south, and then Tskhinvali is right here, marked by waypoint 2. I have Gory down here, and that's the bullseye location, so I'll be listening out for radio calls referencing the bullseye. And that is about all the information that I'm really going to get from here. It doesn't have any of the SAM locations or any of the other forces, so I'm going to take it that we're just going in without much intel at all. But with Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia right here, and the 3 airfields, I would kind of expect some sort of an air threat to pop up. I do have the Su-25s right here providing combat air patrol, so I would expect to be engaged from aircraft coming from Tbilisi or from the west, Kutaisi, Snaki Kolki, or Kabileti out in that area. But we'll just have to play that by ear. This is about all that I really need for the briefing. And I'll include this after the fact. I've already flown the mission, and since I know I'm going to get asked, these are the settings that I was using throughout, and these are the settings that I would just normally use for a 2D screen mission. I don't even think it occurred to me to change these, and I guess, did I see any performance dips at any point? Not that I recall, but then again, I think if I had been looking for it, I might have noticed it. I was, after all, sort of busy with other stuff on my mind. I try not to think about that sort of thing, if at all possible, but these are the settings. And then under gameplay, I had model enlargement set to large to make it a little easier to pick out the ground targets, and I thought this was just perfect for my purposes, as well as you'll see as we get into the mission. So I'll be right back on the ramp. And let's unpause and pick things up on the ramp at Mozdok. I've got 2 just out there to my left. Looks like some Su-24s out there on the ramp beyond them, some Su-25s, more of them out there to the right, although I don't think they're going to get airborne. Okay, let's go ahead and get some power onto the aircraft, so right shift L. So I have a radio call. I caught the tail end of that. That was an AWACS call, 348 for 200 at 10,000. So okay, that was on station. Okay, so that's my 820 early warning aircraft, and I believe that's him on the RWR out there and to my left. And I'll have TACVIEW up so that you will be able to see the overall picture. Of course, all that I can see is what I can see here on the left-hand side of the screen in the cockpit. Okay, so lift out, home. That'll be a start on number 1 progressing, as I'll verify. Okay, 2 KH-25 CBUs, and same thing out there on the right wing. Let's go lift control C to get the canopy. And I usually, for the purposes of a Flaming Cliffs 3 aircraft, have a little quick reference sheet, just little sticky notes with key commands posted on my monitor, and since I can't see that, I have the same ones posted at the bottom of my keyboard, since I can't see the keyboard out of the bottom of my visor here. So I've got that as a quick reference, so I don't have to remember all the key commands, thank goodness. Okay, that's a good start on 1. Let's go ahead and get number 2, the right-hand engine up and running. That's right control, home. And that's a good start progressing, and see the RPMs coming up, temperatures and pressures. And okay, let me go ahead and look around the cockpit. One thing that I will do, and to do this, I'll go right control and right shift, and then on the number pad, it's the asterisk key. That's going to move my head position forward a little bit, just to get myself into a position that seems reasonable for where I would be. So yeah, just looking around right now, that feels a lot better. I think my back was sort of embedded in the seat there. And I'll also have a link, and I'll probably show it on the screen, edit it in after the fact, a quick reference put together by Derek Spear in a forum post on how to do the different commands to move your head position around. It's very, very useful for VR, to say the least. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the navigation mode selected, and that's waypoint 1 that I have selected right now. That's 137 kilometers back behind me, so I'm facing north right now. Okay, let me also call ATC for taxi, or I guess startup in this case, and taxi clearance. So request startup is going to be F3.
Ассистент,
As soon as I get this, I'll be able to request taxi. I've done everything that I really need to do at this point. Okay, clear for startup. Let's go ahead and request taxi now. I get the flaps down to the intermediate position. Trying to look back there and see what position they're in, but I have the indicator right here in the cockpit. Okay, that's one notch down. That's the takeoff position. And that was taxi clearance I just requested, was it not? Okay, no response yet that I saw, but I'll try that one more time. The voices are in Russian, so if I don't look up there and get the text, I can't always tell exactly what they're telling me. Okay, clear taxi runway 26, and that's going to be... Okay, so I'll need to come out here to the right, and I'll be taking off from my right to left in that case. Alright, so I think that is all that I'm going to do here on the ground, or that's all that I really can do here on the ground. Let's go ahead and taxi out to the right. Who's going to follow me? So throttle's up, check the brakes real gently, and take it on out. There's 2 calling that he's rolling. Let me ditch the comms menu, F12. I'll turn the RWR down just a little bit more until I get airborne, and a little bit more background noise is there to blend it in, as yeah, we have some more static Sukhois out there, some vehicles. And let's see what I'm missing. Okay, checking my fuel state. Yeah, of course I've got the external fuel tanks out there, so fuel shouldn't be an issue. It's only, what, 150 kilometers total to the target area, so 300 kilometer round trip. That should be just fine, especially once I get rid of some of this drag from these weapons. This is actually a very, very sort of maxed out combat load for a Sukhoi 25, but I don't mind that so much. And I've got to remember on the landing, I'm trying to remember all the Sukhoi 25 stuff. I've got to remember I think it's right shift P for the deploying the drogue chute of all my little, I'm looking at my stickies right now, of all the commands. I think that is, well actually I think there are some, or several, that I don't have there. Okay, so that's 141. Those are some Sukhoi 24s calling in, passing waypoint 2, so they're heading into the target area. And per the briefing, they were going to go in there and hit some targets to the south of where we're headed, to try to interdict some of the forces coming from Gali up to Tskhinvali. We're going to be around Tskhinvali, as the RWR tones have become more and more urgent, although it's still just the same contact, just the early warning aircraft out there. Okay, and it's about to clear me for takeoff. There we go, clear for takeoff. And I'm just going to hold here on the runway, double check things real quick. Okay, flash configured, got my canopy closed, and well, that's about all that I really need. Sometimes it's kind of refreshing to fly the Flaming Cliffs 3 aircraft as 2 is out there in position. Okay, let's go ahead and get this going. So it's going to be takeoff to a left-hand turn out there over the Caucasus that I can see on the horizon. So holding the brakes, running up, just checking. Okay, caution and warning. That's usually a good clear caution and warning panel is a pretty good indication that you've caught everything. Usually if something's important enough to catch before takeoff, there's going to be a light to warn you. Well, knock on wood, most of the time at least, as I have a whole lot more RWR contacts. I'll have a look at them once I get airborne. So let me just concentrate right here. Just gentle rudder inputs to track it down more or less on the center line. I'm going to look to rotate it around I didn't even do the numbers, about 260 or so. Should be just fine. So they're coming up through about 250. Let me go ahead and rotate right now. I'm just basically full aft on the stick. Once the nose comes up, I'll just hold it right there and let it fly on off. I'll coax it off a little bit and go gear up. And since I have a little bit of back stick pressure, I'm just going to trim it out using the trim selector on my stick that I have mapped. And there we go, that's neutral trim. I'm hands off the controls and I can go flaps up, and that's just keyboard F. And that's a good config. I'll go ahead and throttle back just a touch as 2's on the takeoff roll to let 2 tuck into formation out there. He'll eventually end up off my right wing. And I'm just going to take it up, not too high, just high enough to get over the Caucasus. I don't think I'll get so high. I don't think I'm going to get up into these clouds or above the clouds. I don't really need to. And so basically just keeping the needle right there in my ADI or my attitude indicator centered. As I come around, I'm about to roll out, and this will be about 183 or so for a course. I'm just going to actually keep the needle centered just so that it will put me on my desired ground track. As 2 is airborne and rejoining, and that's 141 Sukhoi 24s passing waypoint 3, getting closer to their target area. Okay, so right about there. I'll just roll it out right here, and the needle's going to tell me to fly to the right here in a moment. Okay, there's 141 in for the north, engaging AAA Bulls 329 for 23. So that's right there in the target area. And tally armor in that area as well. Okay, let me throttle up a little bit. I'm about 450 or so. That's just fine. Okay, so they're in for the north, engaging armor. So there we go. I actually overshot a little bit, and now the needle is pointing to the right, and that's going to bring me around, and I'm close to the desired ground track right now. I don't need to fly this precisely, especially at this phase. This will just put me on my desired course out there over the Caucasus that we see coming up. Okay, RWR picture is... And this is where I really wish I had my Kneeboard. Because on my Sukhoi 24 Kneeboard, I have a little custom page that has what all the different symbols, like the bottom lights, mean when it comes to what's an early warning radar, what's like a medium range SAM, what's an airborne contact. I know that whatever it is out there in front of me and to the left, so that's good enough for now. So I'm going to continue on here and be back once I'm a little bit further along.